The grand concert hall stood silent, bathed in the soft golden glow of the early morning sun filtering through tall stained-glass windows. Dust motes drifted lazily in the air, each one catching a shard of light like a star. At the far end of the stage, a Steinway grand piano sat untouched, its polished black surface reflecting the room's faded grandeur. Somewhere deep in the shadows, the faint sound of a broom brushing against the floor whispered through the stillness. Miguel Alvarez, the hall's janitor for the past 12 years, moved slowly along the aisle, sweeping up scraps from last night's rehearsal. His back ached from years of labor, and his clothes bore the faint smell of cleaning solvents. His hair, once jet black, was now streaked with silver, and his hands, calloused and rough, gripped the broom like it was the only tool he'd ever known. But hidden inside Miguel was a truth no one in this building knew. Long before mops and buckets, before life had ground him down to a modest paycheck, he had been something else entirely. The silence broke with the sound of high heels clicking against the marble floor. Clara Wentworth, CEO of the Symphony Trust, strode in, her tailored suit sharp as the morning air. Her reputation preceded her, a businesswoman with a mind like a scalpel, known for turning around failing arts institutions. She was here for a reason. The hall was on the brink of closure, the board restless, and she needed a miracle performance to convince investors to keep the doors open. She stopped mid-aisle, scanning the empty stage with a faint smirk. "Shame," she murmured aloud, not really to Miguel. "A hall like this deserves music worthy of its bones." Miguel glanced up, resting on his broom. "It's still got life in it," he said quietly. Clara turned to him, eyebrow arched. "Life doesn't pay the bills, Mr. Alvarez," Miguel replied. Her eyes swept over his faded work shirt and old sneakers, then drifted toward the grand piano. Something flickered across her face, a challenge. "If you can play Bruch," she said, smirking as if she already knew the answer, "the hall is yours." The words hung in the air like a dare. Miguel chuckled softly. "Bruch?" "Yes," Clara replied. "Max Bruch. Violin concerto. Piano accompaniment. You play it well enough to make me believe again. I'll personally see this hall never closes." Miguel's first challenge was simple, and impossible. He hadn't touched a piano in over 20 years. Life had taken him far from the stage he once dreamed of, and the muscles in his fingers were strangers to the keys now. But that night, after everyone left, he stayed behind. The hall was dark except for the single bulb over the stage. His hands trembled as he lifted the lid and pressed a key. The note rang out, fragile, tentative, and 1,000 memories came rushing back. His mother's voice cheering at his first recital. The scholarship letter from the conservatory. The accident that had shattered his father's shop, and his dreams, in the same month. He began to practice, each night after his shift, until his fingers were sore. The janitor became a ghost in the building, lingering after midnight, chasing the notes of a concerto he had once known by heart. The second challenge came in the form of reality itself. The hall's investors had already arranged a meeting with a world-renowned pianist. Clara didn't tell him that, but Miguel overheard it in the break room. It meant his performance wasn't just a symbolic dare, he had to be better than someone whose entire career was still alive and thriving. The weight of that truth almost broke him. "I'm just a janitor," he whispered one night, staring at his reflection in the piano lid. But then he remembered something his father once told him: "It's not the title they give you, son. It's what you do when you get the chance." The third turning point struck on the morning of the performance. Miguel arrived early to warm up, but when he opened the piano, he found several keys sticking. Humidity from the storm the night before had warped the wood. His heart sank. He could tell Clara, call off the dare, go back to sweeping floors. Or, he could adapt. And so, when the investors arrived and the hall filled with murmurs, Miguel didn't flinch. He adjusted the tempo in his mind, worked around the unresponsive notes, and began to play. From the first chord, the room changed. Miguel didn't just play Bruch, he breathed it. Every note carried years of love, loss, sacrifice, and stubborn survival. The slow passages shimmered with longing, the crescendos thundered with defiance. His hands, worn from mops and buckets, moved with the grace of a man who had never truly stopped being a musician. When the final note lingered in the air, the room was silent. Clara's hands were pressed against her mouth, eyes glassy. The investors sat stunned. Finally, Clara stood and said, almost in a whisper, "The hall is yours." The months that followed were unlike anything Miguel could have imagined. Clara kept her word, the hall stayed open, and Miguel became its artist in residence, mentoring young musicians from all walks of life. The broom was replaced by sheet music, but he still swept the floors sometimes, not because he had to, but because he loved the place too much not to care for it. When a reporter asked Clara what had moved her most that day, she replied simply, "It wasn't just the music. It was the reminder that greatness can live in the quietest corners, and sometimes, all it takes is giving someone a chance to show it." Message. It's not where you stand now that defines you, it's the fire you keep alive inside, waiting for the moment to burn bright again.